So for solving radical equations, step 1 is to get the radical by itself. Similar to what we did with solving quadratics. We got the x squared by itself. Now we're getting the radical by itself. Step 2 is square or cube both sides of the equation. Step 3 is get the variable by itself, as you would do with solving any algebraic expression. And then mentally check your answer to see if it is extraneous. Maybe a new phrase for you or term. Extraneous simply means you cannot have a negative under the radical. Okay? That indicates an answer that we would get by solving algebraically, but would make no sense if we plugged it back in. So basically that would indicate there's actually no solution to that to that radical equation. We just have an extraneous solution. So starting with number 1, getting the radical by itself, simply add 3 to both sides. And then square both sides. The inverse of square rooting is squaring. So 18 squared is, you can use your calculators, or you can use your mental math because we've done some perfect squares.
Oh.
324.
Yep.
The battery is low.
Here you go. Thanks. Trading me. Number 2, you can't actually subtract the 1 off because it's underneath the radical, so our first step for number 2 would actually be to square both sides. So x plus 1 would be 81. Subtract the 1. That's a common error, would be to try and subtract the 1 first. Be careful. If it's under the radical, you first have to get the radical by itself and get rid of the radical. Number 3. Mentally sorry for number 2. If I check that and plug 80 back in for x, add 1, and square root that, I do get 9. Number 3, square both sides. 2x plus 1 equals 121. So I subtract 1 from both sides. 2x equals 120. Divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 60. Again, if you do some mental math and plug that back in, it works out. Number 4, add 4 to both sides, cubed root. Now this is where you really have to pay attention to the number that's in the index, because this time instead of squaring both sides, cube both sides. So now I have 3x equals, what's 9 cubed? $729. And then divide both sides by 3. And we get x equals 240. So if we go backwards, the cube root of, we would multiply 3 times 243, we get 729 again. Cube root of 729 would be 9. 9 minus 4 is 5, and that one works out. Number 5. So you'd subtract 4 from both sides. Cube root of x minus 3 equals negative 4. Cube both sides. X minus 3 equals negative 64. Add your 3 to both sides. This is basic algebra. Hopefully we haven't done anything too crazy. Negative 61, if we plugged it back in, all would work out. We do the cube root of negative 64 and get 4 minus 4. Sorry, a negative 4. Plus 4 is 0. So that one works out. Number 6, subtracting 5 from both sides. Square root of 3x plus 4 equals 1. Square both sides. Square of 1 is 1. Subtract 4 from both sides. 3x equals negative 3. Divide both sides by 3. X equals negative 1. When we plug that in, negative 1 times 3 is negative 3 plus 4 is positive 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Add 5, we get 6. Check. Just 2 more to go. Number 7, so we have 25 plus radical x plus 6 equals 1.
I just made a really funny mistake.
First, subtract 25 from both sides.
Oh, that's 7.25.
I know, it's really close. Okay.
I got a ridiculous number. Wait, it's not 7. No, it's just 25. Oh. Oh, so x isn't 33.46.
Nope.
That makes sense now.
So, we get square root of x plus x is negative 24, square both sides. X plus 6 then equals, what's negative 24 squared? Being careful that you include the parentheses. Good. 576. Then subtract 6 from both sides. Feeling good. X equals 570. Let's do that mental check. We plug 570 back in. 570 plus 6 is 576. What's the square root of 576? We're just kind of going in reverse, right? It's positive 24. What's 24 plus 25? 49, not 1. Okay? So things went awry here about when we squared the negative 24 and it became positive. So that's where things went a little extraneous. So this is our extraneous. Extraneous. This is an extraneous solution. So 570 is not actually a true solution. It's an imposter.
I think it's more like 3. Wow, man, that was a good one. We were in 5th grade.
Number 8, adding 5 to both sides, we get cube root of 4 minus x equals 6. Cube both sides, we get 4 minus x, so we're going to cube both sides. What do we get? What's 6 cubed?
216.
Thank you. Subtract 4 from both sides. We get negative x. This is a common mistake, would be to forget the negative in front of the x and then forget to divide both sides by that negative 1. So x is actually negative 212. When we plug negative 212 back in for negative x, we get a positive 216 underneath the radical. Cube root negative 216, we get 6. Sorry, it's positive 216. 6 minus 5 is 1. That one works out. So we have one extraneous, but all the other ones worked out. You can see it was rare in our situation here. So that's it.